Hey, so good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where in the world you are. And on behalf of all of us at Celigo, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us for today's platform update. My name is Dave Wallen. I'm the Director of Platform Product Marketing here at Celigo. And along with me, I've got our two product experts, Tony Curcio and Tyler Lamparter. Tony, you want to tell everyone a bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Let's see. I am the Director of Product Management for much of the Celigo products. So I specialize in our platform capabilities, data integration, and our API management set. So I've been with Celigo for about a year. Been doing data integration since the 90s, literally, like it's a long time. Thanks, Dave.
And Tyler, introduce yourself to everybody.
Yep, I'm Tyler Lamparter. I'm a principal product manager here at Celigo. As a lot of you probably know, I've used Celigo for, I don't know, 6 years now. So really familiar with the product, and now I'm on the product team helping build out new products and new ideas, and happy to be here to kind of showcase all the updates that we've got over the last quarter or so.
Great. So we've got a full agenda, but we've got some great demos here today. But before we get started, so a couple of quick housekeeping items. We're using a new platform for those of you who haven't been on the last couple. It's got a different interface. There's an attendee engagement bar on the right side of your screen. That's where you can access the session group chat. You can submit questions through the Q&A, and you can view or download other resources that we've attached. And please submit questions to the Q&A section and not the session chat. We encourage you to use the session chat throughout the webinar to drop comments and share your thoughts with your fellow attendees. And at the end, there's going to be a survey. We would appreciate you taking the time to share your feedback. So let's take a look at the agenda. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be covering the highlights from the most recent release, as well as key features from some of the earlier releases this year. While the new AI features are going to be front and center, we're going to start off with a quick overview of the new connectors that we've released since the last webinar. And then we're going to introduce the star of today's show, the Knowledge Bot. We'll look at advances we've made in auto mapping, in code assistance, in error management. And then we'll wrap up with a reminder of how you can get more information on today's topics and anything else you're looking to look for in the additional resources. And then we'll go into the Q&A. Sound good, everybody? Specifically, two guys who can talk to me. Great. So let's start with some advances in connectivity. So earlier in the year, we had a focus on enhancing our connectivity in support of marketing automation use cases. So we added connectors to apps like Salesforce Marketing Cloud, to Eloqua, to Hootsuite, and Rollworks. And we added some new connectors for sales tools like Clary and Sales Loft. For e-commerce customers, we've added connectors for a number of applications and marketplaces. And AI is a focus, as we've talked about before. So we've introduced connectors for Anthropic, Hugging Face, and Jasper AI. Again, you can find details on these and all of our new connectors in the release notes. And we were talking before, Tony, you mentioned there's a way for customers to share their ideas for connectors.
Yeah, there's certain times of a year where you get gifts and things like that, and getting enhancements is like a gift. Birthdays are like a gift, and if anybody knows Dave, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Dave!
Thanks.
But submitting enhancement requests is like getting a birthday gift, because maybe what I do is I accelerate the product delivery around needs that we have in the community, right? And so, if you're part of our community using Celigo products, we'd love to hear from you. I'm a pretty straight talker. I'll say historically, we haven't done as good as we needed to on this product portal in making sure that we were getting timely responses out, working on some improvements there. Make us work harder. Get us your product ideas, things you need. We are all ears, really. And want to make sure, particularly with connectors, we've cracked the nut on how to get connectors built very quickly. If they've got great HTTP API interfaces, we can turn those around. And so obviously it's very easy to use our universal connector to do those in the product, but we do want to formalize it, get you support, and basically help keep up with the maintenance on those endpoints. So if something is important to you, let us know. We'll make it important to us too. Thanks. All right. So Dave, sorry for letting the cat out of the bag, but it had to be done. Let's move to the next slide. Start talking about a few other things, kind of on the connector front. On-premise connectivity or behind firewall connectivity has been an important part of integration technology in the cloud. Reaching into the enterprise, getting your data out and getting it up to, wherever you need around your enterprise or into your cloud infrastructure that you're using on, various places. To date, we only had a Windows-based agent, which can sit behind those kind of firewalls. We're really, really happy to support a Linux-based one as well. So now you have the diversity of operating system at your disposal, depending on whether or not you're kind of a Linux or a Windows user community. You don't have to break the back on your admin function to make them do this, and the one that you don't use, you now have choice. So works just like the other one. You can configure this out at the integrator IO screens, basically register the agent remotely. And once those things are registered, they just kind of keep pace and open that pathway for you to connectivity across those boundaries. So take use of that if you need. Next slide. So, we at Celigo, we're on a multi-year journey to expand out and diversify the platform in a number of different ways. And whether or not it's some of the recent advancements in EDI or API management, these are net new functions. But really at the core of the platform where we're focused on mostly today, we've been adding artificial intelligence. And our journey there has been several years, right? Obviously, with the new large language models, that's accelerated everybody's journey on lots of topics over the past year. So definitely net new things we've done. But if we go back even 2-3 years, our areas in error resolution, automating the categorization of errors, understanding the ability to retry successfully and disposition those error states for you automatically. It's a large part of what makes Celigo different. And so that's been a journey for some time. More recently, what we've been doing, and you'll see a number of the things in demo today, is around some of these other areas with code assistance, with auto mapping features and some improvements there. And then the newest one, as Dave was mentioning, the Knowledge Bot, is basically the newest add to this set in this May release. And so we'll turn our attention to that one. I'll intro that, and then I'll pass reins over to Tyler, who'll take us kind of through the rest of these, and then give us a bit more feel of it as he goes into his demo. So let's drill in on the Knowledge Bot. Next slide.
Actually, before we do that, there we go. So how frequently do you use AI solutions in your daily workflow? You can vote daily, weekly, monthly, rarely, or never. We just don't do it. All right. So there you go. People are kind of all over the place, but it looks like we've got people who are, there's a fairly large group doing weekly, and then there's a bunch of people who haven't tried it yet.
Well, if you're a Celigo builder, definitely make it easy for you to try at least a little bit of AI. And a diverse way we're using it. I'll say even personally, I've become even more of a fan of it. Like the topics like auto mapping in integration, you deal with mapping different technologies and having to build that subject expertise. Getting accelerators like auto mapping, with the AI and natural language in the background, it's just huge accelerator. We've lost the screen share.
Nope, I was waiting for you to finish so we can see.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I didn't know we could do that. Okay, so this is one of those new ways that we have available. So you're going to see hopefully we've seen the refresh screen that we have some of the new logos and branding and color scheme. Not significantly different, but definitely when you're in the May release because it looks a bit different. You're going to see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's this new little icon that hovers there with that OpenAI rather, iconography. And if you click on that, you're going to get a new window called the Knowledge Bot. So powered by Celigo AI. And it's got access to all of our information, the documentation center. So if you are new to the platform, maybe you've never used before, or you've been using Celigo and you've built successfully for some time, In either scenario, sometimes you are facing situations where I've never had to do this before. Maybe it's a file that's formatted with EDI. Maybe you're installing the agent, right? You've never had to do that before, so you can cross over hybrid cloud infrastructure. All of these are situations traditionally you would flip out of the UI, you'd head over to the Doc Center, look through Doc Center, try to find the information you're looking for. If it has stepwise instructions, you're relieved it does, but then you're going back and forth actually trying to follow these instructions. KnowledgeBot really simplifies that whole process. It is a really intelligent AI search. We'll go through all of the knowledge repository, bring back the relevant articles, and also give you a summation of what it found in those articles. And so again, you'll have the stepwise instructions typically just right there for you. You can begin to follow that directly within the experience without ever having to go to the Doc Center. And just again, another way we can make AI helpful as far as productivity and being impactful to usability. So try it out. Let us know what you think. But again, we think this is going to be a great accelerator for particularly new users or in those situations where you're looking for things you've never had to do before. All right, and that's one of our many AI things, and I'm going to pass over to Tyler for our AutoMap.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, so AutoMap, I think we initially came out with AutoMap earlier this year, later last year, and there's a little bit of usability around it and some limitations that it had. So what we've done is enhance the usability of it, made it more streamlined and simple for you to use. Now you don't have to like prompt AI to automap all fields. We've just got clickable buttons for you to select to automap all your fields. Additionally, before it was a little restricted in that it only supported, it didn't support unstructured JSON data. It was just really just like flat mappings. So now it does support full JSON structure as well for auto mappings. And if I go into a screen share here, let's see. I gotta stop sharing that. There we go. All right, there we go. Let me zoom in a couple times. All right, so within AutoMap, so pretty much all of our destination and source connectors are now, a lot of them are metadata aware. So for any given endpoint that you go to, we typically know what payload is required for that particular endpoint. So for HubSpot here, for example, I'm going to contacts and I'm going to create a contact. And then when I go into the mappings here, you can see if I add like a new mapping, I've got a drop-down list of all of the fields available to me. And this is because we are going out to the HubSpot connection that you've used and grabbing all those lists of fields. So you can just easily select those within your mappings. But then using AutoMapper, here you used to have to go down to Celigo AI and type in, map all of my fields for me. Now you can just click this simple mapping AutoMap icon and then select the fields that you do want to automap. You could select all, or you could pick and choose, kind of which ones you want. Maybe you've already mapped some that you don't want it to override or try against. So then you can just easily click automap selected destination fields. And within a few seconds here, you'll get those populated with mappings that match the input that you've got over on the right. So you can see here, I've got first name filled out, primary phone, fax, etc. And you might have to change these a little bit, but at least gives you a jumping off and starting point for your mappings. So that's AutoMap. Let us know what you think about it. Try it out, and then see how it goes. And then on to code assisting. So for code assistance, we've added Celigo AI into several other places. And the first one, it's going to be natural language search when you're creating resources. So I'm sure a lot of you all notice whenever you've worked on flows recently, whenever you go to create a new import or export step, you can see your list of existing resources like you used to, but you can also see a list of marketplace resources. So historically, you've only been able to go to the marketplace and you'd have to install the entire template within that marketplace. But what we've done is actually kind of decouple all of the imports and exports that are within those marketplace templates and made them available for you to utilize within the flow itself. So if I screen share here real quick, go back to the flipping back and forth here, but discard these changes. So let's say on this flow, I needed to add another step. I would add a destination lookup. And here I've got, right, it defaults me to the list of applications. But if I click out a little bit, you can see the list of existing flow steps, but then marketplace flow steps. And these marketplace flow steps, myself and others within our company are kind of adding to, so that you have like business use cases, prime business use cases that are built out for you to easily use. For example, like this send an email, or populate like a Google Sheet or Excel online sheet. These have been pre-built for you to utilize wherever you need on a flow without having to go to the marketplace, detach that import, and then attach it to your specific flow that you're working on. But in order to find those, what we've done is made a natural language search here. So if I want to, let's say, get Salesforce opportunities, I can type in and then click enter. And you can see, I can see what existing resources I have that match kind of that criteria, but also what marketplace flow steps match that. So I've got import Salesforce opportunities, a few different options here to choose from. Again, you can choose others like get me NetSuite leads, or really kind of whatever use case that you're going after. And we'll search the marketplace for relevant information so you can pick and choose what you want. So hopefully that helps a lot within your flow building experience. The idea, right, is to just have these decoupled parts for you to easily pick and choose along as you're building the flow without having to make it cumbersome to go to the marketplace, detach and attach specific resources and stuff that you want for your flow. Cool. And the next one we wanted to talk about was, let me stop sharing again here, is natural language for filter rules and scripts. So I'm sure a lot of you all have seen Celigo AI within either transformations, Mapper, like I showed earlier, and a lot of other spots, script building, stuff like that. And we've now added it to filter rules. So if you have like input or output filters on any of your flow steps, you can now use Celigo AI to build those filters for you and describe what the filters are doing if they're complex. So to show you a quick example, if I come back to this flow I was working on, if I go to my source step and click the output filter, you now have Celigo AI down at the bottom. And I can say, filter out contacts that don't have a phone. And then it's going to think here for a few seconds. And then it's going to populate where primary phone is not empty, which is exactly what I wanted in this case. And you can get a little bit more complex, right? Some adding and or statements as well. Where contact phone is not empty and where email is not empty, something like that. But it really helps you kind of build out these filters a little faster to get what you need. Awesome. And that is output filters and filtering with Celigo AI. And then lastly, or for at least for code assistance for Celigo AI, is AI generated SQL queries. So a lot of our database sources have the ability to use Celigo AI to write SQL queries to grab data from that particular database or to write SQL queries going to that particular database. So just like you had that drop down of Celigo AI, you can ask it to write you a query for you, whether it's extracting data or importing data.
So actually, before we do error management, we have another poll.
Oh, okay.
So here we're trying to, why is your organization adopting AI technology? And the options are increase efficiency, enhance accuracy, reduce operational cost, gain competitive advantage, innovate new projects and services, and you can choose as many as you're using. Increasing efficiency. Yes, that's my big one. I don't know about you. I don't know about you guys. I should hope you're using it to innovate new products and services. All right. Anyway, thanks for your answers. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Thanks for
Now we'll
sharing.
go back to my button's slowing down. There we go.
Cool. Yeah, I'd say I personally use it, whenever building out scripts in Celigo, use it all the time to build myself functions. I still find myself going to Stack Overflow and trying to figure it out, and then, maybe 2 minutes in, I just go ask AI to build it, and it's typically right
Yes,
the first or second time.
I have to keep reminding myself not to do a Google search and to go to ChatGPT, and it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've been having a lot of good luck with accelerating new things that I'm learning and getting me like hello world and beyond hello world things, but not necessarily, like navigating the universe, right? Like certain level of complexity, it just starts to break down. And so it's awesome, but yeah, with limits. And so using it within the limits, I can't tell you how many hours I've said. Yeah.
All right. So I think we're back to error management.
Yep.
Speaking of AI.
Yep. So error management, we released this a little bit earlier this year, but we have auto recovery for rate limiting errors. So if you go onto your connection, you can actually enable this. So by default, whenever you make new connections, this will be auto enabled. But what it does is, if the API you're hitting against is running into rate limiting errors, we will automatically retry those errors for you, but also increase the time between those API requests so that we, don't hit that rate limit. So we'll back off the concurrency automatically for you down to a point where we don't actually hit those limits anymore. So it's really beneficial for APIs that are pretty stringent on the amount of requests they let you do. Some recent ones that I've worked on is like Slack, for example, has pretty hard limits on how many requests you can make to like update users and employee information. And it was super helpful, so I don't have to go manually retry those. They would just automatically retry once concurrency or once that rate limiting had backed down. And after rate limiting is add tags on errors. So any error now can be tagged, and you can create your own tags within the platform. So if I share my screen, I can kind of walk you through what it looks like here. So I've got a flow here that I've forced an error on, but on this error here, if I click into it, you can see I've got two new buttons here. I've got assign errors, so I can assign those errors to a different user. And I myself am in this account 4 different times, but if you had a bunch of users in here, you'd see them in the list. You can also invite new users automatically from this point. So let's say you get in here, you find an error, and you realize that a particular user is not on the list. You can easily assign to a new user by inviting them directly here. So just type in their email address and assign it, and it'll send them a link, an invite to be a monitor role for this particular integration so that they can look at those errors and resolve them on their own. But additionally, you can tag these errors. So here I've got 4 different tags created, maybe investigating, apply that tag. So if anybody else comes in here and looks at this, they can see what the tag is. Maybe it's urgent and important. I'm looking into it, etc. So really helps you kind of almost add notes and stuff to what's going on with your errors. That way, it's more beneficial when you've got multiple people working in the same account. They know who's working on what. And then I didn't forgot to show it there, but you can sort on errors as well. So if I go back, sorry for all the back and forth here. So those errors can be sorted as well. Up in the top left here, I can sort descending or ascending order, and then by code or timestamp. And then once I come here, let's say, maybe I didn't get an email alert for this and want to figure out how do I get alerted for errors on a particular flow. Like Tony was talking about earlier, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm new to the platform and I want to be alerted on these errors. I can say, how do I get emailed for flow errors? And then Celigo AI Assistant should come back here with step-by-step process on exactly how to go about enabling notifications for flow errors. So you can see here, navigate to integration. So if I come back and it persists here for the different screens, unless I exit out of it, I can come to notifications and then notify me on flow error. And then I see my list of flows within this integration that I can easily select and then get notified on. So just a quick example of how Celigo AI in the bottom left can kind of help you along with your flow. And especially if you're a new user, learning how to build flows, how to create connections, stuff like that. Really beneficial to use it and ask it. That way you don't have to go search the knowledge base. You can just ask AI to search it for you. Cool. And then lastly are some UX improvements. So I'm sure a lot of you, while you're building, are familiar with our script layouts and AIF layouts. So whenever you're building handlebar expressions or building your relative URL or your HTTP request body, or maybe you've got complex handlebars within the mappings that you're doing to like get the first name out of a full name or whatever it is, any AIF layout and any script layout will now save your preference of layout. So everywhere in the platform, you might have a different layout depending on what type of form you're on. So if you're on, like a pre-map script, the layout is maybe different than a post-map script. Whatever your last saved format was will persist the next time you come to that particular type of resource. This was beneficial just because a lot of times we were defaulting to one layout when a lot of people, of course, preferred maybe a different layout. So I know this has been super helpful for me. I always flip my default layout to back to the non-default, of course. So just a nice quality of life improvement there. And then lastly is a sheets parser improvement. So a lot of exports for various applications, whether it's like Google Sheets or Excel Online or maybe even like QuickBooks, where they've got, what they do is they have like a 2D array that gets returned in the response, where the first thing returned within the response of values are your header columns. And then everything after that are all the values that you want. And what people had to do previously is create a script within Celigo that would automatically, take the first position, remove it from your records, and then add all those column headers to all your fields. But what we've done now is add a simple checkbox for Google Sheets and then later to other source connectors where we'll actually flatten that out for you. So if I show a quick example here of the Sheets parser. Here we go. Come down to Sheets parser, and here's a Google Sheets parser that our CTO Scott built out. And you can see I now have this option of first record contains headers. And if I go preview that data, you can see I've got my record with its actual field names. But if I look at the raw response from Google Sheets, you can see that I just get returned a values array, my first array being the column headers, and then everything after that being the actual values. So there's just a nice, again, quality of life improvement especially for exporting from Sheets, whether it's Google Sheets or Excel Online. That way you don't have to go around and script. You can just easily use this new setting. And with that wraps it up for new enhancements, and I'll pass it back to Dave for additional resources.
Thanks, Tyler. Yeah, just a couple things before we get to the Q&A. The goal of this is not to be a total review of everything new and updated in the past couple of releases. So the place for that is the Help Center. That's where you can find release notes for every release with additional information on new features and updates and links to articles with even more detail and media on all of those topics. You simply click on the What's New tab at the top of the Help Desk screen, and it'll take you straight there. And release notes are only part of the Help Center. It includes our complete knowledge base and access to technical support, although you can now use the knowledge bot to find everything in that knowledge base right from in the application. So that is new and different. And but the Help Center also includes our community section. That's great if you have a question that's more simple than a how-to, right? You're thinking of how to approach a unique problem and you're wondering if someone else has tried it. Then we've got Celigo University, right? That's to provide everybody with that free online training. So whatever you need to know to build, test, and manage integrations, you can attend live sessions. There's on-demand courses, and you can, that's where you can take the learning paths and you can achieve your certifications. And before, during, or after certifications, anyone working on a custom flow, either customizing a template or creating one from scratch, can get extra help during our office hours. They're typically held weekly on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. to 11:20 Pacific time. And you can access the registration for those from the help and feedback page in the Help Center. Did I miss anything there, Tyler, Tony?
No, great stuff. I'll just comment on the office hours are just awesome. People come and a lot of variety of questions. We've got the right SMEs on the phone to answer questions. It's no replacement for support. Obviously support is a wonderful channel too. But if you're looking at how to do, as opposed to something's weird, the how to do stuff, like that's a great conduit, and invite people to participate, as they can and as they need.
Okay, so we'll get to the Q&A, and there's a couple in the queue. Tony, you answered one privately, but I'm going to make you answer it for everybody this time. So does each flow need a description in order for Celigo AI to locate?
No, we are inventorying, basically everything that's in the infrastructure in the cloud. And so we also, anything that's been newly created, I think it's the past 3 or 4 months, we've actually generated the AI descriptions behind the scenes, like that's already there. It's something that we could take advantage of within the infrastructure, and kind of enriches the experiences we could bring. So there's not a specific need for you to put a description on before we could find that.
Great. Do you have the ability to comment on tagged errors?
That one I was going to defer over to Mr. Tyler.
All right.
Yeah, not currently. I assume this is I assume you're kind of wanting to like add comments if it's like an investigating tag or something, wanting to add like comments around maybe what was found or something. Not currently, but we'll see, kind of see the feasibility of that in the future.
And Jamie, if you want to reach out, I'll answer there with a contact info, but we can, take that offline. If you want to elaborate on your use case, we can understand a bit more of the requirements you have. That might help us as we consider other enhancements there to make sure we kind of hit the use case you have in mind.
How many times will the rate limit retry be attempted before giving up?
So the rate limiting is on an exponential decay model. So if you hit, let's say you hit an error, we'll retry in a minute, and then 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, 16, etc., up to 124 minutes. I don't remember the exact time that. I think that's over like 36 hours, or I can't remember the exact time in total that exponential decay goes, but it's somewhere around 36 hours, something like that.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Want to put them in the question section? There we go. Something just popped up. Can errors be auto-resolved also?
Yeah, so based off of the trace key within for that particular error, once we auto retry and it is successful, it will auto resolve that error that was there. Whether that's, auto retry from rate limiting or auto retry from some of the other auto retry mechanisms that we've got in the platform.
Any more questions? We give it a going. Oh, there we go. Great. With all the new connectors, will file transfers be supported within them at some point? This little read less thing I have to get used to.
So I'm trying to make sure I understand the nugget of that question. It's like not every endpoint supports file interaction models. Some would, of course, and they do have special requirements. Trying to think about like Tyler, the large object support. I mean, we've done a lot of standardization there, but I don't know that if in the newer connectors we've cranked out, we've largely done lob support broadly. Might be, Sarah, that you have to let us know which one you need. Tyler, unless you know something else that would maybe add to that.
Yeah, so all of our, I'd say all of them, just about all of them, 95+% of new connectors are built off of the universal HTTP connector that we have. And within that connector, it has a few options for uploading files, whether it's like a multi-part stream or some of them are just like encoded string within the post body or various different ways that we interact with those endpoints. So any new connector has the same functionality of that universal connector. So whatever's supported there will be supported in the new ones that we onboard. Now there are probably some file gaps that that we do have on the roadmap to enhance, just supporting any type of file upload. But anything right now in Universal Connector is supported.
Looks like Sarah sent some a little bit more to clarify. Anytime needing to make a multi-part form data API call, for example, with Coupa.
I'm not 100% sure on Coupa exactly, but I don't know if we can. If you want to come to like office hours next week on Tuesday or something, we can take a look and see.
Okay, is there any mechanism for auto ignoring or making an error to ignore based on specific criteria?
Yep. So within the product, this one might actually be better to screen share again. So if we just stop sharing there. We do have on the roadmap to have like a nicer, almost like rules-based UI engine for errors and whether to ignore or tag or assign, etc. But currently, if you go to like an import step that might throw an error or a export or whatever, if you go into the hook icon here and go to this post submit function, it lets you ignore certain errors or completely manipulate the error message back. So a quick example here, post submit function, and this is just on the fly here. We could try out Celigo AI and let's see. So this post submit function basically lets you manipulate the error message being returned back, but also ignore it. So a lot of times the error message might be nondescript, being returned back from that particular application. And so what I've done in the past is, once I've developed a flow out and then pass it on to other users, maybe that error description is not particularly useful for non-technical users. So a lot of times I'll actually manipulate the error message to say, here's what the error is. You need to do, X, Y, Z to fix it. And then maybe go fix it in the source application or wherever else and come back and resolve it within Celigo. But you can also ignore them if you don't care about them at all. So in this case here with the post submit function, I can say, ignore errors where the message is, XYZ. This, and there we go. So it'll basically loop through each response here and then filter where error message is XYZ, and then ignore it. So just a quick example of how you can use post-submit functions to ignore particular errors, or remessage them if you want.
All right, so after an error has been assigned to a user, will an email be sent to the user that assigned the error after the error has been resolved?
I'm not 100% sure, so I'd have to get back on that one.
Okay, try it again. Going once, going twice. All right, this time we will get to the wrap up. So before we end things, we do want to announce we've got a new webinar series called Integration Bites. They're 30-minute demo focused webinars, really to learn better how to leverage the platform on specific topics. So every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. Eastern time, starting June 4th, we're doing transform integrations with an overview of the platform. Say discover Celigo's iPaaS platform in just 30 minutes. But if you go to the landing page, either through the QR code or going into Docs, it'll take you straight there. You can see what's coming up. After they're done, they'll be posted, so you can look at the recordings. It's just kind of another neat, easy, convenient way to get more information on the Celigo platform. So, with that, also don't forget to fill out the survey on the engagement bar there before closing out. We really are looking for your feedback. We want to make these webinars better for you and meet the things that you're looking for. So thank you, Tony. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks from me. You guys have any last words before we log off?
None for me.
All right.
No, just happy birthday, Dave.
Thank you. And actually, when it comes to funny little things, somebody logged on and said greetings from Elmsford, New York. I'm about 10 minutes away from you in Dobbs Ferry. So the Hudson Valley is representing and Westchester County is representing. So that's kind of neat. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining. Look forward to seeing you next time. And have a great my birthday.
Sounds good.